Hey guys, it's Robin, RsIslandCrafts. Welcome to my craft room. Today we are going to make some cord keepers. Now these I received in friend mail a few months back, and I love them. I never had them before. I've heard about maybe putting, sometimes you buy things and it has a piece of Velcro attached that you can wrap up your cords. A lot of times you get that with a laptop cord, the electrical cord thing. But I haven't thought about them for my chargers and my headphones and a lot of other things. These things are really great. They're perfectly simple little projects. Just 2 pieces of fabric, some interfacing, and then you can use snaps or buttons or Velcro. You can make them in any size you need, depending on what you're going to use them for. As you can see, I have my phone charger and my headphones, but I have this desk lamp. I like to take this into my craft room when I'm recording a video for you guys at the sewing machine. While I have a lot of light, I have 2 lights on my sewing machine, an overhead light and sunshine and all the good stuff. I kind of need an extra little spotlight. So I just have one of these simple little Walmart ones. I only paid a few bucks for it. But if I want to take it from the sewing machine table and I want to store it, or maybe I want to put it in my bedroom for an extra spotlight when I'm reading in bed or something, I don't want to have this mess everywhere. So I just take it and I just kind of accordion fold gently without pressing in on any of my wires, because you never want to do that. And I attach it right here to the neck of the lamp. Now this way, whenever I want to grab the lamp, I just have the lamp, I can grab it, my cord is right there, it's not all over, I'm not tripping on it or anything like that. So I thought we'd go ahead and make one of these together today. And as I was getting everything together today, I was thinking, sometimes when you have teenagers and your niece or nephew or even your own children or grandchildren, and you want to give them something for Christmas or their birthdays, but it's the type of thing where kids at a certain age, it's better just to give them a gift card. But sometimes when you give them a gift card, it feels very impersonal and you want to give them a little extra gift on top of it. These cord keepers are great for them because, kids all have cell phones nowadays or some type of electronic device, and they can use these to manage their cords. You can do it in a fun teenage fabric or just a color that they like. These are great for your grandparents or your aunt and uncle or something. They don't want any more knickknacks. They don't really need anything, but you want to give them some type of a gift. Maybe you made them some homemade brownies. You can tuck these in as a little bonus gift for them, something handmade. Great for people in the office. And I've mentioned that gift basket at Christmas where you have that basket with wrapped gifts or even unwrapped gifts. In case that surprise guest comes over and you want to give them something, you can have these sitting in a basket and ready for them. This is like a 15 or 20 minute project. The hardest part I think for me is just deciding on what fabrics to use. These are really cute pineapples. They were orientated just right. You can fussy cut like that, or you can just have a generic fabric where it's kind of all over. And that way you don't have things, if you had like just this brown on one side and maybe a lighter color, darker color, red, whatever coordinating on the other side, this would be great for gender neutral, man or woman. They would work fine for everybody. And as I'm sitting here holding these would also work really good if you have a bunch of colored pencils so that you can just wrap them around it. These uses are really endless for these. You can kind of figure out something to use them for almost anything, right? If you don't know what to use them for, hand them to a small child and they'll figure it out because they're always coming up with some type of idea. Let's get making these. As you can see, these are in 2 different sizes, 2 different lengths, 2 different widths. You can make it in a smaller size if you want to just maybe do headphones. You can make it in a larger size if you're thinking more for the charger for a tablet or a cell phone. And even if someone had the small size and their cords were too big, you can just wrap it and it can just hold it like this without having to have it all the way around it. I've used this large one on smaller things before, and I just kind of wrap it around twice sometimes. So if it's a little bit more length than I need, and now, okay, it doesn't look beautiful, but it is holding my charger really well. It is not going to be coming apart loose and falling out everywhere. I have to actually tug on it to make it come through, and it works. These are very flexible. So I'm going to tell you the size that I'm going to make for my husband. Now my husband has his cell phone and a couple other devices that basically have cords like this. So I'm going to make him one with his New York Giants fabric, the team he loves so much. And I decided to go with a 3 by 6.5, mostly because I could fit this name Giants in it really well. And then on the opposite side, you're going to get a little bit here because of the way it is, but I got his helmet on there so that when I put the 2 of them together, Depending on which way he does it, he'll have a front and a back. And I've also gone ahead and ironed on a lightweight fusible interfacing. And if you can see, I just had a couple scrap pieces, so I just laid one down and then the other one, and it overlapped a little, and it's okay. For a little project like that, I didn't see the point in cutting into my big pieces of interfacing. I had some strips that were left off going down the end. You know, they're like 2.5 inches wide, so I just want to put it on there. Since it's a lightweight, that extra bit in the center is not going to be big and bulky, and it's going to work out fine. And I didn't put anything on this side. If you felt like you needed something more sturdy, you can go ahead and interface on both sides. But I think for the project and for as flexible that I want it, I'm just going to go ahead with one layer. Now you can use zero interfacing if you want. You can also quilt it if you'd prefer. As long as you're able to fold it around and snap it closed or Velcro it closed, then it's fine. You can just use leather, couple pieces of denim, corduroy, whatever you happen to have, and scraps in your stash. So after I have them cut out, and I've cut them out both to the same size, I want to go ahead and have it curved like this one. Now I can leave both ends straight, or I could curve one end or curve both ends. And I think I'm going to go ahead and curve both ends for Rob. So what I did is I just grabbed a roll of painter's tape. Just like the plate or the cup trick, just kind of put it on there. I'm going to put it so that the end of the roll of tape kind of goes up to the edge so that I'm just doing the corners. You can measure it, maybe lay it down on your cutting mat so that you can line it all up so it's even. But I'm just going to be happy to just go ahead and trim off the little ends a little bit. So I have my little pen. I'm just going to trace it on there. And then I'm going to go ahead and do both ends, as I said. I'm not looking for perfectly even. I'm just going to lay these right sides together. You can pin them together or use clips. It's so small that I'm just going to go ahead and hold two of them together so that they're curved together. And just kind of cut along that curve and cut it off while holding the fabrics together and making sure my wrist is a very awkward angle and that is not ergonomically safe. So when I do this side, let me see if I can do it a little bit better. I'm going to trim this side, then I'm going to turn the fabric and then do this corner. That way I'm not putting any strain on my wrist. Because when you're crafting and stuff, it's not good to always have your wrist bent like this, because that's going to put some strain on there. It can cause some repetitive strain, carpal tunnel, all those things we don't want to do. Now I'm going to do the same thing as my friend did, and I'm going to add the cam snaps to it, because you guys know how much I love the cam snaps. They're quick and easy. They're relatively inexpensive once you get the starter set with the tool, and even then it doesn't cost too much. But if you decide you're going to use Velcro, you can choose to put the Velcro on now before you stitch it together, or you can wait until you're all done. I think if I were going to use Velcro, I would go ahead and stitch these together and then turn them right sides out. And that way when I'm putting the Velcro on, it's going through both layers and would have that extra security. Because if you're just going through one, then there may be the possibility of repetitive use that the Velcro could come loose or get pulled off. It's almost in the shape of a Band-Aid. So I want to make sure these are both in the right side directions. They're both, I guess it really doesn't matter if you flip it around, but I like to have them both facing in the right direction. They're both right sides up, right sides together. I'm going to take it over to my sewing machine, and I'm going to leave an opening on one of these long sides. So I'm going to stitch around a 1/4 inch seam and leave this open for turning, and then I'll come right back. And there it is, all stitched together. Now, let's see if we can get this to focus. I did the little trick where I started off my fabric and I came in, then I stitched all the way around, and when I got to this side, I went off my fabric. Now if you remember, I've showed you this before, is after you turn it around, this just automatically gets these two pieces just to fold in together. And this way you don't have to struggle with trying to get these pieces to fold in nice and even and to look good. So let me give this a little press at the iron. Even though I'm not quilting, I still like to set the seams and let the stitches all get squished down into the fabric. Just take my little hemostats to go ahead and pull it out. Oh, wait, before I pull it out, we need to take care of these corners. Now, whenever I have a rounded corner, I like to go ahead and little notches or use my pinking shears. That relaxes the fabric and opens it up so that when I turn it inside out, I don't get it all bunched up here, and it allows it to sit flat. So you can just hit it with some pinking shears. Stay about 1/8 of an inch. I just kind of split the difference on the seam allowance. We're going to top stitch afterwards, so it's not too much of a concern, just on my corners. And then if you don't have that, you don't have pinking shears, you just take your regular scissors. Some people like to do a notch where they cut the actual fabric out and they make that little triangular notch. You see that little notch there? I don't mess with that too much. I usually, if I'm just using scissors, I just cut 1/8 of an inch, 1/4 of an inch, just whatever feels right as I'm going around this corner. This is especially helpful if I don't have much of a seam allowance there and I don't want to waste any losing it with my pinking shears. So either way works. Just anytime you have a curved edge inside or outside, you want to release that curve and allow the fabric to be able to move. Now I can turn it the right side out. Just pop my hemostats in there, grab a corner, I tend to leave too small of a hole to always fit my fingers in there. Kind of push it through with my thumb and pull it out. Once again, my plastic crochet hook, whatever you have that's kind of dull, that can help you smooth around these corners and pop everything out. Now I'm going to take this over to the iron, and you see how, here's my hole right there, and how my fabric already wants to just pop in there. Kind of give it a nice little tug, and it just settles right in where it needs to be, and everything looks really nice there. So got the giants on one side, kind of got the helmet on the other side, so that's going to work still. It gives you that idea of it, and that's mostly going to be on the inside anyway. So once it's curled up, you really don't see much for words, but he's going to know they're there. So I'm going to take this over to my iron and give it a nice press so that that side stays in nicely there. And make sure all of this, nothing's stuck on the inside anywhere. Just pop it all around, make sure I didn't miss any corners. And then I'm just going to go ahead and top stitch all the way around. It's going to keep this looking nice and neat, and it's going to also close up our hole. I went ahead and just used white thread because that happened to be what's in my machine, and it matches fine. If you're concerned with your top stitching that you can't get it perfectly even, 1/8 of an inch all around, first of all, it doesn't really matter too much on a project like this, but if you are concerned, I would have just used a matching thread. So I would have used something blue so that you couldn't actually see and it didn't stand out to where you were going to see my top stitching all the way around. So I think that turned out really well. I'm going to go ahead and put the cam snap in now, and then it'll be a finished project. Now I've shown you how easy it is to do cam snaps. I'm just going to go ahead and do this and let it fast forward. But you can just kind of choose where you want to put it. You can measure it to make sure when you put them on after your first one, you want your second one to be in the same spot if you didn't get it exactly centered. So once I do my first one, then I'm going to do my second to make sure it lines up. But I'm not going to measure to make sure that I'm in exactly the right spot in there, but you can. So I'm just going to decide by laying this down to see where I want to put my first one. I turn these upside down because you can leave them this way and try to guess, but I know if I put it upside down it's going to lay flat, and I want to have it so it's not covering over on my seam line, so I want it just inside there a little. I'm trying not to cover up my giants too much, but it's really not going to matter because as I wrap everything up, or as Rob wraps it up, it's going to cover it anyways. Just move it out of the way. I like to hold pressure down and then pull it through. Now the important part is when you do the next step, you see how we have the button on this side and then we have the female part on this side. If you were to put them both on the same side, they wouldn't snap. For what this device is going to be is we're going to be wrapping it around, so we want to make sure that we have the male part here and then the female part there, or vice versa, so they snap together. Whether it's like this or like this, you just need to make sure. So I have this way, so my next one, I need to make sure it goes up this way. So you can test it out, just kind of hold it in place, wrap it around, and then it's going to go in. So I know I want to have it on this side, the opposite. I can bring this over, just kind of guess where my spot will be. I can go over this way, and I can kind of feel for it if I fold it in this way. Just going to hold it right there where I can feel. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm kind of pushing in, and I can feel the plastic piece underneath there. So then I'm just going to hold it. I'm not poking it through to my finger because that would hurt. And then I move my fingers out of the way. So my white part, the top of the button's on this side. I want to make sure I put my button on the back this time. It's one of those things that once you do it, it makes sense. But as you're doing it, you're like, well, they should both be on the same side. And before you do this, you can still take it one more time. Just double check to make sure you've got it in the right spot. Even though I have a hole in the fabric, I can move it a little bit because this is going to cover it. Make sure it's going to work, and then I'll go ahead and close it up. There it is, a nice little cord keeper, New York Giants. Just spin it around, make sure it snaps. Everything looks good. It's going to hold some cords for Rob. He's going to be really happy with it. And then after I make this one, if he wants more, or if this one's not long enough, I'll just make some longer ones. Because I know this will work for his headphones. So we both have the same headphones. It's a little bit loose for the headphones, but as I said, you can always just kind of tuck it around this way. But I made this one mostly for his charger cords. Right now he's using a bread tie, one of those metal ones, but the more you use them, the more the wire gets bent because he actually twists it. And then this way to hold his cords nicely, he can just stick them in his little drawer where he stores everything and pull it out, and he'll be in good shape. And if he doesn't like the way it's wrapped all the way around like that, I'll make him a smaller one, even smaller than this one, so that he can just wrap it around like this, and it'll hold it nice and tight in a small one. So you can adjust these to any length you want, any width you want. It's all going to be depending on your fabric. Like I had to make mine a little bit wider to make sure I got the giants in there. You can make it longer or shorter. You can leave your ends squared off or make them rounded. Make these your own. Use Velcro. You could put a buttonhole in here if you wanted and add a button to it. I find it's really easy to just snap them or to use Velcro. So thanks for hanging out with me today. If you enjoyed this video and you have any other friends that might enjoy it also, please go ahead and hit that little share button down below. And that way it'll bring more people into our channel here and our community, and we'll have more people to chat with. It really does help my channel when you go ahead and like, subscribe, and share. All right, until next time, thanks for hanging out with me. Bye.